Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today's episode is the last one of my Eat Smart series where we're going to be looking at how to use myfitnesspal. So far in this series we've looked at all the different macronutrients, we've looked at how to track them and also the flexible dieting approach. So in today's episode we can bring all of that together and understand how to use the app within your lifestyle. If you do enjoy this video, remember to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel and hit that bell to alert you every time I post a new video every Monday. At the end of this video, I'm going to give you an update into how my prep is going for my next bodybuilding show. So stay tuned if you'd like to hear a little bit more. Today I'm going to be sharing with you over 6 years worth of experience using myfitnesspal. I use it myself as a bodybuilder, but I also help clients through working as a personal trainer use the app and implement tracking their nutrition into the flexible dieting approach. I'm sure you'll agree with me when I say that in recent years there's definitely been an increase in the interest of nutrition. Flexible dieting is a lot more in the spotlight now, and it's a really popular way for people to monitor their nutrition. And by using an app like myfitnesspal, it makes things very easy for you to be able to input your food, your exercise, and what you're consuming, and then be able to look at how that hits calorie or macronutrient targets. So let's start by understanding what myfitnesspal is and how that fits into the flexible dieting approach. myfitnesspal is a tracking app that allows you to monitor your food and your exercise. You can scan or input foods and you can monitor your exercise by logging that on the mobile phone app or on their website. myfitnesspal is free to download, although there is an option to upgrade to a premium version. Now, I personally use the premium version, which costs me $39.99 for the year. Because I use it every day and I enjoy the different features that the premium option offers, I personally feel like it's definitely bang for your buck. But the choice is up to you, and what I'll do is I'll explain a little bit more about the premium account as we go. But also during this video, you're going to see all the different highlights that it offers through looking at myfitnesspal based on my account. Before we start to look at how to use myfitnesspal, I just want to cover what flexible dieting is. So essentially, flexible dieting is an approach used to monitor your nutrition whilst choosing the foods that you want to include. And make sure you have a little look at last week's video, if you haven't already, to understand whether flexible dieting could work for you. When you first download the app, you'll be prompted to set up an account. So the app's going to ask you for things like your name, your gender, your age, and what you're looking to achieve. That's then going to create you a profile. So you can see here, if I go into my profile, I can edit that at any point. You get the option to add location details if you want to. And then if I scroll down, you can see that there's things like goals, inspirations, and different bits of information that I can input if I want to. One thing to just bear in mind is that you only get the option to change your username once. So when you're picking what you want your username to be, make sure you pick wisely. Have a look here. You've got my username, age, gender, and when I joined. So I've had 2 different accounts on myfitnesspal and this is my most recent one. You've also got that little bit there where I've got currently in prep as my personal slogan. As I scroll down, you can see the About Me section, and then just below that you can see where it has my friends, and then to the side of that you've got my news feed. So what myfitnesspal does is generate a news feed based on your weigh-ins, how many days in a row that you've logged, and different information like that. It can be a really nice added motivation to start building up a bit of a community through your account by adding friends or people you know that use the app. If you want to let them view your diary, then you do need to go into the back office and set that up. To do this, you just need to go onto the home button, go into settings, and then select diary settings. If you scroll to the bottom, you'll see it says diary sharing, and then I've ticked the box to say friends only, and that allows my friends to then view everything that I'm inputting via my app. What you'll start to see on your homepage is what your friends are up to. So how many days in a row that they've logged, their weigh-ins, if they've completed their food diary, exercise sessions that they put in, all that sort of stuff's going to come up on your homepage, along with different bits of information from myfitnesspal. So they sometimes share things like recipes, different workout ideas, which is a really nice touch to use in the app. Okay, so you've got your app set up. Let's start to look at your nutrition targets. If you click on the premium tab, that's going to open up all the different features that the premium account offers you. So you can see here we've got macronutrients per gram. And when I click on that, you can see all my different macronutrient targets come up. So we've got my carbohydrate, my fat, and my protein targets per gram, and then an overall calorie target. What you can also do is add a daily goal. So for me, once a week, I have a refeed day where my carbohydrates go up. So what I can do is I can select the day I want that to fall on, which for me is the Sunday. I can set the carbohydrates to 300 grams. That will generate a new calorie target for that day for me. And when I hit save, every Sunday, that will adjust my macronutrient goal. If you're using the free version of myfitnesspal, you can't set individual macronutrient targets. But what you can do is look at overall targets by looking at the back office of your account. If you're going to do this on your mobile phone app, when you go into your food diary, if you scroll to the bottom of the page, there's a tab that says nutrition. If you click on that, it will take you into your calories as a pie chart. You can go across into nutrition, and that will give you a breakdown into all your different macronutrients that you've hit on that day. When using the website, if you go onto the food diary tab, scroll past everything you've inputted, you'll then see the totals for calories, carbohydrates, fat, protein, fibre, and sugar. If you scroll down a little bit more, you can view a printable report that gives you a little bit more information. Here we've got the printable report. You can scroll down past all the things that you've inputted. You've got your totals there with the additional cholesterol and sodium grams that you've hit that day as well. You'll notice when using the mobile phone app that there's also some additional information there, like vitamins, iron, calcium, so you can see what you've hit over your day for that as well if you're looking to be a little bit more in depth. Now hopefully you're still with me. What I'd like to do now is look at inputting food and how that works through using myfitnesspal. So let's look at a blank day. So if we go into food diary, select the date we want to have a look at, so we'll go for Thursday. You can see all my different meals listed there, so meals 1 to 5. I then have the option to add food under each meal. Now just bear in mind that this is again something that I've done through the premium version. I've labelled my meals as meals 1 to 5 because that's how I personally structure my nutrition. So it makes it really easy for me to know which meal I'm having and what different foods to input there. When you select add food, you can see here it takes me to a library of different foods that I've used. You can see you've got the option to click on recent, frequent, my foods, meals or recipes. If we go for the recent tab, myfitnesspal is going to bring up all the different things I've inputted recently, and then I can select from that list. So if I select protein powder, I can check the quantity, and if I'm happy, add that food to my diary. You'll then see it will come up under meal 1 with the different calories and macronutrients that the protein powder provides. If I then wanted to add a second item to meal 1, I'd do exactly the same. So I'd go to add food, go into my library of foods. If I wanted to add some strawberries, I can check the quantity, tick the box, add that into my food diary. What you'll then see is when you come back to view meal 1, you've got the calories and the macronutrients for both of the items added together as a meal. What I'll show you now is how to add multiple items. So if I follow the same process by going into add food, if I go under my recent, and if I'm going to select 4 different items to go into one meal, so if I wanted to have chicken, a baby bell, some potato and some sprouts, I can tick all 4 boxes, add those to meal 2, and that's going to come into my food diary with all 4 items listed with the calories and the macronutrients there as one meal. Now what you'll find is that myfitnesspal will start to recognise the different items that you commonly have together. So I use chicken, baby bell, potatoes and Brussels fairly regularly as a meal. It will then save them close to each other. When I go into add food, it makes it really nice and easy to tick the 4 boxes and add them all into one meal. When using the mobile phone app, you have the option to scan items in, which makes things really nice and easy. So if you go into food diary and add food, you can then use the little barcode icon there. Now what you would do is scan the barcode on the item that you want to put into your food diary, and that will populate the nutritional information from that item. There's a couple of things you need to bear in mind when scanning foods in. So the first thing that I would always recommend is that you double check what's on the label compared to what comes up on your app. Sometimes they don't come up as the same nutritional information. I would always go with the packet version compared to what comes up on the app if you do find there's a difference there. Sometimes when you scan a barcode, it doesn't match, and you'll find that you'll need to input that as a food. A sneaky little tip here, especially for people who have protein bars, is always double check the amount of carbohydrates, that when you're scanning the item in, it doesn't come up with just your net carbs, because that's not the actual carbohydrate content that you're after. One of the notorious places for barcodes that don't match is M&S. For some reason, a lot of the barcodes they have, when you scan it in, it comes up with something completely different, or quite a lot of the time it shows that the barcode is invalid. Also bear in mind, if you buy sale items, the new barcode that they use to make the item cheaper, so to offer the discount, they sometimes cover up the barcode for the actual item that's going to give you your nutrition values. Naturally, the facility to scan foods in makes things really nice and easy. If you're on the go, if you're at home, it just takes that complication out of tracking your food. One thing that I have learned along the way, so one of my top tips, is to make sure that myfitnesspal isn't using your mobile data. A few years back, I kept running out of data and I couldn't work out why. So Kieran and I took a trip to Brighton to the O2 shop, and when they had a look what was using the majority of my data, it was actually myfitnesspal, just from generally running in the background and if I was scanning foods when I was out and about. So what I tend to do is I leave this unchecked when I'm in my settings for my mobile data, and then if I need to scan something when I'm out and about, I can go into my settings, click that I want to use my mobile data for the app, scan foods in, and then turn it off to avoid using all my data up. What we're going to look at now is how to manually add a food. So this is a really good option if you can't find the item through your barcode, or if you want to input a food on the website version of myfitnesspal. So what you would do is go into My Foods and add food, and then it's going to give you the option to add a brand name or a restaurant name. So if I was going to put something like this white chocolate hazelnut spread that I've found recently on Amazon, that doesn't go in through the barcode. I can set up the name, and then I can set up what quantity I want to list the nutrition values for. I would always recommend setting it up as 100 grams. What you can then do is you can either go for 0.1 grams for, say, a 10 gram serving of your 100 gram total, or if you were going to go for 150 grams of, say, broccoli, you could put 1.5. What happens as well is if you do add it as 100 grams worth of food, you can then drop that down to 1 gram if you want to. You can then list that as 10 for 10 grams or 150 for 150 grams. So by setting it up as 100 grams, you've then got two different options to use. A quick little tip for you when you're adding foods manually is if you're going to list the sodium, then quite often on packets it's listed as grams, but on myfitnesspal it's milligrams. So you'll need to work that out there. When you do add foods, you can be as specific as you want. So if you want to, you can just add your calories, carbs, protein and fat. I personally had everything that's on the label, and then I've got it all there under the food that I've added manually. You'll also notice things like vitamins, calcium and iron are listed as percentages on the app rather than grams. Alternatively, you can go to add food and use the myfitnesspal database. So if I was going to search the white chocolate hazelnut spread, I could type the name in there and that will populate different options for me to have a look at. The one at the top is the one I want, so the Muscle Chef version. But what the app does is it will give you different items that are similar to the description that you've typed. So you can have a scroll through there and there's going to be lots of different things listed within their database. Anyone that knows me knows how much I love Christmas, and now is an ideal opportunity to share with you a little tip I've got. If you're looking to input things like celebrations, heroes, the little chocolates that you get around Christmas time, you'll find that they don't often have a barcode on the individual ones, or they don't have any nutrition information on the label. What you can do is use the myfitnesspal database to search items like that. So you could type in something like mini dairy milk, and that will give you lots of different items there. So something like a little eclair you could find and add that to your food diary. Another really great thing to utilize the myfitnesspal database for is incorporating meals out into your diet. What you can do is you can use their database to search items or meals, and that allows you to guesstimate for if you're going to go out or if you're going to someone's house, someone's cooking for you. You can type in like for like meal options and then select something from the database. We did speak in my previous video about some different places that do appear on myfitnesspal. So restaurants like Nando's are on myfitnesspal database, and also you can use their website and input their foods into your own library and utilize that when visiting their restaurants. What you can also do is incorporate the database for if you're going to somewhere like a pub, which probably isn't going to have their nutritional information listed on a website or on their menu. In the past, when I've looked to guesstimate and I've been visiting somewhere like a nice homely pub, what I would do is I would search homemade and then the item that I'm going to select from the menu. So if we use the example of a homemade lasagna, if you type that in myfitnesspal, lots and lots of different options will come up. So you can see near the top there's a very high calorie version there, so over 2,000 calories for that one meal. So that may be a little bit too high unless we've got a really nice big lasagna there. So you can scroll down and have a look for some other different options that you may be able to utilize. So we're going to explore some of the different options that come up so I can help you guesstimate as accurately as possible when using myfitnesspal to incorporate meals out. So if we click on beef lasagna here, that's showing as just over 400 calories, so that's for one portion. If we go into the nutritional information, the fat and the protein don't look too bad. But then I can see the carbohydrates are only listed as 3 grams. So that's definitely going to be under on the carbohydrates, and that's contributing to it only showing as just over 400 calories. So that's something to bear in mind. Have a little look at all the different macronutrients if you can, and make sure that we've got some good values there to be able to use that as your option when eating out. Okay, so if we look at a different option here, so we've got Vinny's lasagna. So 909 calories, so that's going to be a little bit more accurate to overestimate rather than underestimate, especially when dieting. If we have a look at the nutrition content, the fat, protein and the carbs are looking pretty good for a nice hearty lasagna there. So that's definitely one that we can keep as an option. If we carry on looking through, so you'll see here you've got pork and veal lasagna. So that's another good example of how actually if you're a bit more descriptive, if the place that you're visiting for food does have, specifics listed on the menu, you can utilize that within the myfitnesspal database. If you know the venue that you're visiting and it's maybe not as big on the portion sizes, you can look for a lower calorie version. So if we click on this 470 calories, okay, so you can see that it's just listed the calories there with no other nutritional information. Now this can actually be good for two different reasons. If you purely hit an overall calorie target, then that's all you're going to need. Also, if you're having a more relaxed day around your nutrition, but you're still looking to hit a calorie target, but you're not worrying as much on that day about your macronutrients, you could then use this to still input your food on that day. The quest continues. Okay, so let's have a little scroll through. So we've got Tanya's version here. So if we go into the nutritional values, and now that's not looking too bad. So you can see here it's 1/6 of a serving. The fat looks pretty good, 21. Carbohydrates 23. Protein looks good as well. So what we could do here is we could utilize this option for two different reasons. We could either do 1/6 of the lasagna for a smaller portion, or we could do 1/3, so go for 2 servings of the 1/6, and that would give you 1/3 of a sort of standard size homemade lasagna. What you could do is, if you think that the place you're going is going to be a smaller portion and then it's bigger, you could change from 1 serving to 2. And then around that day, so the following couple of days, it might be that you go slightly under on your calories to facilitate for that 2 portion rather than the one that you were perhaps thinking it was going to be before visiting the venue. So that's a really good tool to utilize if you want to. So we've got the option for Vinny, which is just over 900 calories, very nice generous portion, and then we've got Tanya's 2 different options there. Another thing I've tried in the past is entering something like an M&S luxury lasagna, and that's nice and generous on your macronutrients and your calories as well. Going for the luxury ones, naturally they're going to taste a little bit more premium, and that's going to offer those additional calories that are going to match what you do when you go to somewhere like a pub and they're looking to add the different flavours, different items of food that are going to make the calories that little bit higher than perhaps what you're used to at home. What we're going to do now is look at how you can create recipes and start to build a library of different options there. This is really good if you're bulk cooking, but also for recipes that you're using regularly within your diet. So if you take yourself across to the recipes tab, you can create a new recipe. You can add your own description, and then you can have how many serving sizes you're going to make that recipe for. When you do enter the serving sizes, don't worry too much there, because you might find that you put all your ingredients in, and when you see the calories and macronutrients, you may want to amend how many servings that's going to make. So don't worry too much initially. Your different ingredients into your recipes, you can use the barcode option to scan items in on the mobile app. If you're using the website, let's have a little look as to how that works. Now, what you would do is you can add your foods in manually. I myself do most of my food shopping at Tesco's. So if I was going to do my spag bowl, I would have items like mince. So I could search for the Tesco 5% lean mince there. I can select the option that I want to add into the recipe, adjust the serving size, and that will take that ingredient in. I can then go back in and type in things like Tesco carrots, adjust the serving size, add that in. Maybe some Tesco's onions. And then if I was having something like a spag bowl, I would have tinned tomatoes. So I could go for the brand name. So Napolina there. Add a tin of those in. And then if I wanted to have a packet mix, I could also add that in. If you want to, you can add things like your mushrooms and different things that would go into your recipe. Once I'm happy with all my ingredients there, I can then save that recipe, and that's going to show me my calories and my macronutrients per serving for that recipe. Like I said, if you want to, you can adjust your serving sizes. If you create your recipe and you think, oh, actually, I'd prefer to have a bit more carbs there or a bit more protein, you can manually change that there. One thing with things like a spag bowl, if you want to, you can add your spaghetti in as part of the recipe, or you can make your actual bolognese as a recipe and then add that into your food diary, and then manually add your spaghetti separately. If you're looking to, especially, things like bulk cooking, you might make, say, 6 of the bolognese mix and then put some in the freezer, and you might find you're only making the spaghetti for a couple of those, and when you come back to get it out the freezer, you might want more spaghetti on that day or less. So if you add it after with the recipe of your spag bowl, that might be a little bit easier for you. Well, guys, that was certainly a jam-packed episode. What I wanted to do is just strip it right back to the basics and then layer it through as to how to use myfitnesspal in all different areas. So recipes, foods, day to day, and just make it as simple as possible for you. I truly do believe if you can try and embrace using the app, enjoy being accountable, and trust the process, flexible dieting can work for pretty much anyone. And I hope that this series has shown you that. Any questions, please do reach out in the comments, or if you want to have a look for me on Instagram. I'd really love to help anyone looking to learn a little bit more. Next week I'll be launching my new series where I'm looking at sharing my experiences as a competitor a little bit more. A little update from me. Now, last week my macros went down. Stephen and I have decided it's a really good time to dig a little bit deeper now as I get closer to the show. I've got 8 weeks left, and I'm hoping that this time in 8 weeks I will be in Portugal ready to compete for my pro debut. Macros have come down and my cardio has gone up, so I'm going to be burning 1,800 calories a week now through my cardio, and my calories are around the 1540 mark. Carbs have come down, fats come down, and my protein stayed the same. Overall, I'm feeling really positive about it. I'm really feeling, motivated to get to that stage lean now, which it does take that little bit more of a dig, that bit more of a push. And what we're hoping is that by applying myself now, if I can get some more weight off, that when I get close to the show, the calories may be able to creep back up a little bit and replenish my energies just before I compete again. So that's the plan. And next week, like I said, I'm going to be launching my next series, which is going to be based more around my personal experiences as a competitor. And next week's video, I'm going to be focusing on giving you a little bit more information into my story and how I've gone from being an amateur competitor up to competing as a pro. So I'm really looking forward to getting a little bit more of my own personal story across, and for you guys to understand a little bit more about me. Really looking forward to launching my new series, and I've really enjoyed the first 2 series that I've launched through my YouTube channel, and I hope you have too. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell to alert you every time I post a new video. I really do hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Peace out.